Hello and welcome to episode 75 of the Movie Bros podcast. We are your hosts, Duncan and Hayden. Hello, hello.
Welcome back, everyone. Hope you're enjoying the holiday season.
And if you are new, this is a weekly podcast of two brothers who pick a movie, watch that movie, discuss, ramble, banter, argue, break down, all those kinds of things for that movie. We cover all genres, all eras, any kind of movie you can think of. We probably either talked about that specific movie or something like it. But we're also always open to suggestions. There are comment sections. There is a DM on Instagram for a reason, which is the movie_bros for the handle. And this month, as we talked about last week, we're doing all Christmas oriented movies. So last week was Christmas Vacation with Chevy Chase. And this week we'll be talking about Elf. Hayden, what are some fast film facts about Elf?
So, fast film facts for Elf. This is now 20 years old, actually over 20 years old, released in 2003, directed by Jon Favreau, however you want to pronounce his name. He would go on to obviously make a whole bunch of well-known movies. One we already reviewed called Chef. That's like 20 episodes earlier, but scroll back and find it. That's a good listen too. This is written by David Berenbaum. Music here is by his longtime collaborator John Debney, who has worked on everything from Chef, as I say, to The Jungle Book and the first two Iron Mans. He's always doing movies with Jon Favreau. Cinematography here is by Greg Gardiner. I did not think to look what else he had done, but that's homework for the audience. So this stars obviously Will Ferrell, along with James Caan, Bob Newhart, Edward Asner, or Ed Asner, as often it's shortened to, Mary Steenburgen, Zoe Deschanel, Faison Love, featuring Peter Dinklage, Amy Sedaris, Artie Lange, as well as Andy Richter and Kyle Gass. And that's all the information I have to spout off for you. Duncan, where would you like to start?
Well, I think it's ratings time. What are your thoughts?
So, I mean, I might say that I am biased because I quite literally grew up watching this, but this is a solid 5 out of 5. I think this is a holiday classic through and through, and it stands the test of time. It's still funny. I still enjoy the hell out of it.
Okay. I mean, I totally understand where you're coming from, but for
Yeah,
some
I mean,
reason,
yeah.
I don't know. It's like, and we'll talk about this when we get into the actual discussion, but uh, it's almost like it's too well known for me now, where I don't find it as interesting to watch. Like it's too easy to get distracted or anything. I would give this like it's a very okay. If I rated it today, and I only based off how I feel about it today, I'd call it like a 3.5. But I totally see how
A little low in my opinion, but
I no I get that, but at the same time I totally see why it is a classic. It is a staple, but I think, at least in my opinion, it's kind of been beaten to death. Where I know every beat of this movie, and it just doesn't. I don't know. It just doesn't hit the same.
well, to be fair, I mean, this used to be run like 24/7 on cable TV back when we used to have it, as well as us just watching our own copy back when we used to live at
Mm-hmm.
home and things like that. So I fully understand that it got overplayed to a point where maybe it's no longer, the favorite it might have been then. But since I don't watch it all that regularly, unless it's obviously Christmas time, I'm still laughing at it. I'm still having a great time.
And I was thinking about this earlier today. I feel like if I don't watch this for maybe like 5 years and then watch it, I bet I'm still gonna love it.
Yeah, that's probably true.
And because of how because of how it hit me this time, I didn't have a ton to write about because I wasn't that interested, because I'm like, okay, I've seen this literally 1,000 times. I don't even know if I really want to like talk about it.
Well, I mean, we could pick something else.
No. I think it's an important one to talk about. Uh, I mean, I don't know how many other things you've seen.
Well, I remember reading in the run up to us getting doing this recording, I did look through some of his interviews at the time, and that was kind of the reason why he wanted to do it, because it was so out of character for him. And I think Will Ferrell's quoted as saying that he didn't understand the theme and a lot of the purposes of why some things happened during the movie until it was actually done, and then he got it. Well, so I have some notes I took chronologically. Do you want to do that? Is there something? Is there like a big thing that stands out for you that you want to start with instead? Because sometimes we do that. I think this one has more. I think this definitely does have more plot than Christmas Vacation. So I think this one does have a comparatively more substantial story. I would also say that pretty much everyone in this is
Mm-hmm.
really well cast. Everyone's funny. I always really love how they fully just parodied Rankin Bass in the beginning of this. And there's a funny bit of trivia there that they didn't have the legal right to really do that. If you watch some of the behind the scenes stuff, John Favreau will be like, "Yeah, so we kept telling the costume designer that we want things to look almost exactly like um, the Rankin Bass Christmas specials, right down to the color and design of the elf costumes. And then after we started shooting, our legal department's like, hey, we can't really do that. Did you get permission?" And so it was really up in the air, and if they had to reshoot all of the opening, but it obviously worked out fine.
Huh. Because I even wrote down like, oh, uh, I really enjoyed that all the elf stuff is like classic elf vibes. They didn't try
Hmm.
to stylize it to the 2000s or anything like that.
I would also say that that's pretty indicative of the whole movie. I mean, I don't know. I mean, granted, you can tell it was filmed earlier, but you could probably release this today with very little changes, because there's nothing that really says, oh, this was obviously made in 2003 by X showing up in the background, or this, or this.
Mhm.
It's kind of timeless.
Well, yeah, because there's not a ton of technology that's used. Um,
Very true.
yeah, they don't signify any major events that it's happening in the world.
Yeah. And I think that's why it's so, at least in my opinion, readily rewatchable.
What else you got?
Speaking of the classic elf stuff, a lot of that bit where it's showing him growing up and him being comically larger than everyone is not CGI. They've done a thing called forced perspective
Yeah, I
where
saw some stills.
he's carefully hidden to make it look like he's closer to the camera than he actually is, and it makes him appear larger. And I thought that was probably done for cost saving measures, because at the time this may not have been John Favreau's first movie, but I think it was maybe his second or third. So this didn't have a whole bunch of a budget,
Hmm.
but I think that's a really interesting way to go about that, because that's also something that Peter Jackson did in the first Lord of the Rings before they turned into the CGI fest that they became. So kind of in the same vein that you were talking about, the Rankin Bass stuff feeling like classic elf things, I really love how it feels like a good-natured homage. Do you pronounce the H in that? Homage?
Homage. No
It
H.
feels like a good-natured homage rather than like a mean-spirited parody. And I feel like if you made that today, you probably wouldn't be able to do that. Like if this was like an Andy Samberg thing, which I don't know why you go with Andy Samberg, but let's say you did, it would probably be, oh, and here's why the original is stupid and we're making fun of it. I like that it's just a nice callback to a classic.
Hmm.
I would say that's kind of, I mean, obviously it's a family Christmas movie. It's going to be good natured by design, but I like that there's no real mean spiritedness. There's no real rude jokes or anything like that. It's very much a wholesome comedy.
Yeah, and I think it's enough of a kids movie to show to kids, and I think it's enough to where the adults aren't going to be bored.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there are plenty of aspects that I can look at this and laugh at that I don't think younger me would have understood, or definitely didn't understand. Like the bits when he's working in the mailroom.
Hmm.
That's so much funnier to me now, because I mean, granted, this was several years ago. I used to work for a mail sorting warehouse company. Like that is a little bit exaggerated, but not by much. So I got a good kick out of that. So we were mentioning about how like well casted this is, and I genuinely don't know who could ever do this besides Will Ferrell. I don't know of a single actor who could really pull this off. He feels so, I mean, especially in 2003. Obviously, he couldn't do it now, he's
Sure.
too old, but like he feels so incredibly right for this.
Well, I think the only person who I can think of who is kind of his counterpart is John C. Riley, and even that, I don't know.
I mean,
Maybe.
I could see maybe John Mulaney doing this, but I don't think it would work because he's so Will Ferrell is like 6'4", 6'5" in real life. He's a very tall guy, and they definitely play that up here. So I don't know if like the physicality you could get a whole lot of other comedians to do that.
Yeah, and I think that was also a time where comedians were not, as a whole, super well known.
No, they were.
Well, at least speaking from the kids' point of view, from us, I'm like, I had no idea beyond that uh, who Will Ferrell was in 2003. Like he was.
I mean, that's true.
I'm saying like if you did it now, all the adults would be like, oh yeah, it's Will Ferrell as an elf.
Possibly, yeah.
Would you bucket this as the sleigh? Would you bucket this as a piece of elf costume?
I don't know.
Or would you go an entirely different direction where you wouldn't bucket it? You would serve some sort of maple
I
syrup
would, yeah.
something.
I mean, you can get pressed out fake noodles made out of sugar and like flour and stuff like that. Yeah, I think you could have small servings of like M and M's and fake pasta at the movie theater. I think that'd be funny. So some other things. So the bit you mentioned earlier, where he's running around New York and doing things like that, were mostly filmed just guerrilla style, where uh, John Favreau is running around with a handy cam with Will Ferrell in complete getup with real people. And then after he would shoot the scene and they liked what they got, he would go up and say, like, "Hey, can you sign this release form and we'll put you down as an extra?" So a lot of the scenes where he's running around and he's eating gum off the rails, obviously not real gum, but like eating the gum, talking to the guy in the red suit, jumping around the crosswalk. Those are just him fucking around in New York in real life. I thought that was kind of funny.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned Zoe Deschanel, you being surprised every year that you remember if she can sing. I'm surprised every time I watch this that she's blonde and you can see all of her forehead, because after a while her whole thing was, especially because hipster culture was a thing in like 2009 to 2010 or whatever like that. Like she wore big rim glasses, she had brown hair, and she had huge bangs. That's like, I mean, she's still dressing like that today. So she does look kind of unrecognizable in this.
She does, and I don't think she looks bad.
Not at all. I think she's still very pretty here. I mean, this was back before she unfortunately got plastic surgery. So
Happens to the best of them.
unfortunately,
If you were going, if someone saw this and you're like, okay, you like that, what's the next movie to watch? What would you recommend?
something of like a similar tone. Hmm. I don't know. In many ways, this isn't the kind of comedy that really gets made much, and I can't think of things out around the same time.
Well, the only thing that I can think of that it's the same kind of like fantastical meets real world is what's that one with I think it's Amy Adams where she's the princess that gets stuck in,
Oh, Ella Enchanted?
yeah, or Enchanted or whatever it's, yeah, whatever it's called.
Yes.
That's kind of the only thing I can think of that's sort of like this.
I guess I was thinking like specifically Christmas.
Nah, it doesn't have to be Christmas.
Hmm. Then yeah, I mean, that's fun. Um, what else is there?
Well, really, the story is just putting someone who's used to one environment in another environment. That's kind of the whole thing.
There's a Brendan Fraser movie, I don't remember what it's called, where he lives in an underground fallout shelter believing that the nuclear war has happened, and it's him coming out from that shelter and still essentially having the mindset of like the 50s, walking around the 80s or something, I think, and him being dumbfounded and being very fish out of water. So that's kind of a fun sort of equivalent.
Okay.
Can't remember what that's called though. I'll have to look it up later. What else did I have written down? The Peter Dinklage bit, always funny. And this was back before he was like a big name. I mean, he was still recognizable
That was
then,
before Game
but
of Thrones.
obviously, yeah, Game of Thrones puts him on the map.
Well, and like that's pretty early on for Kyle Gass and him and
Andy
Andy
Richter.
Richter. Yeah,
Well, so technically at this point, Kyle Gass and Jack Black had the HBO series for Tenacious D, but I mean, it was more of like a cult
hmm
classic thing. And even now, most people know him from the movies.
correct.
So he was also kind of an unknown at that point too.
I know it's not him, but the guy who works in the mailroom that he hangs out with always makes me think:
Yep.
is that Dave Grohl from Foo Fighters?
I always think he's Sacha Baron Cohen.
Okay.
I mean, it's not, but like I always assume he is. So something that I mean, granted, it was 2003. The economy was different in many different ways, but like the one thing that does give me pause here is that towards the end, where we go inside of Zoe Deschanel's apartment, and she's got she's watching TV, and she sees Buddy on the TV. I'm always shocked at like you were working maybe part time, maybe full time at a department store. How are you affording what is a fairly generously sized apartment? It looks about
In
the
New
same
York
as
City,
mine
yes.
in downtown New York City. Like that's the part where I'm like, I don't know if that one tracks that much. James Caan and his family, that makes sense.
Uh,
He's a big executive.
yeah, the
That
editor in chief at
sure,
a children's book company. Yeah, that makes sense.
yes. I will say I'm actually surprised. I mean, maybe not back then, but certainly now that no children's book for the movie has ever actually been released. That seems like a super easy way to really tie in with a very marketable merchandise.
I'm pretty sure. I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they made a picture book or something for this.
Well, it shows Buddy holding it at the end of the movie, but what I mean, like, I'm surprised that that was never released as a thing you could actually buy. Or maybe they did, and I just don't remember.
Yeah, I'm not finger on the pulse on children's storybooks, so I mean,
That's a good point.
maybe it's been made. Maybe it seems really unlikely that they would pass up on that chance just for the marketing.
I suppose. So something that always impresses me whenever I rewatch this is that, and we talked about this earlier. You don't find that the jokes are always as funny because you've seen it so many times, but like I'm surprised at how just genuinely good the humor is pretty much the whole way through. The jokes are landing like 90% of the time, and I think if someone had never seen this, they'd probably still laugh at this
For sure.
despite its age.
Well, again, I really think that is really just the only quote unquote problem I can find with the movie is just it became too popular.
So there is one scene in here that really definitely the mood changes, and it's when Buddy kind of like leaves the house and he's wandering New York. Have you heard the theory about what that scene actually is?
Him coming back to reality, what?
It's him thinking about committing suicide.
But yeah, when he goes up on don't they show him on a bridge?
They do show him on a bridge looking out over the ledge and all that, but I never thought about that until I saw I don't know, probably an Instagram reel thing talking about it. I'm like, oh shit, that is what that is. Because it's both of his father figures casting him out, and the family doesn't want him. His entire life is meaningless now. I never put that together as a kid looking at that, saying, oh, he's looking to jump off the bridge.
Which
Which
yeah, I
it
didn't
does make sense
you
though.
don't pick it up on that I think as a kid. And I still don't think that's like
It's probably not exactly what they intended, but it is certainly a way you can see
yeah,
it.
exactly. Like if someone's like, "Oh, if I tell you this, would you see it that way?" I'm like, "Yes, absolutely." But I wouldn't inherently go to, "Oh, he's gonna jump."
Sure. Well, I mean, obviously we know that he doesn't. He goes and looks for Christmas trees instead.
Well, anything else, Hayden?
So just a two little bits of trivia here. So when it's the perspective of Zoe Deschanel's character watching the television, and we're seeing the news crew doing the reporting, and it does that bit where they see Buddy walking in and
The
amongst the trees.
Sasquatch.
The the freeze frame they do is literally the exact same
Hmm.
pose of the infamous Bigfoot footage, if you will. And, like, there's no way it's not there's no way that's not on purpose.
Well, unless it's I don't want to say sloppy production or director, I try to assume that everything you see, any movie you see, is on purpose.
Well, I guess so, but I guess I didn't notice it until I was looking for things to notice.
Fair, 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 fair.
If that makes sense.
Hmm.
And then the other thing is that you can tell this was not filmed in the winter because, or at the very least, the quote unquote downtown New York scenes, because you can't see anyone's breath.
Yeah, I thought that too. I was like, well, I mean,
Which, you know,
New York, it's cold as
unless you're
shit.
looking for it, you're probably not going to notice it. But they definitely filmed this in like the spring or
Hmm.
something, so they had enough time to finish the movie and then release it for Christmas that year.
Yeah, 100%.
Just a fun little thing I noticed, though. Well, do you have anything else you would like to add? I feel like I've
No,
talked a
no, that's
lot.
okay. And this is, I mean, for a movie that's ever, I think pretty much ever. I don't know if I've ever met anyone who hasn't seen this, especially from a certain generation. So, uh, I didn't think there was going to be a ton of like new ideas coming out of this, and that's perfectly fine. That's why I thought, okay, 30 or so minutes on this, I think is acceptable.
Probably so. I do think though that this is among the list of movies that like every generation introduces their kids to, in the same way that we were shown, you know, the original Star
Uh
Warses
huh.
and the original Indiana Joneses. Like, this is definitely something that every generation of parents now shows their children. It's going to be a classic probably for years and years to come.
Absolutely. Well,
Well, we've done Does It Bucket, we've done general discussion. We're going to move on to what have we watched? What are we looking forward to? Things of that nature. Duncan, have you seen anything recently?
before we get into what we've seen, Hayden, have you? Because I think you and I will have quite a number of things to talk about for Knives Out. Uh,
I'm thinking maybe we do that as a separate
I was
episode,
going to bring that up because I'm like, I don't
actually.
know if we want to do that as a whole episode or we want to spend, some of
I, 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 I did watch
yes,
that at the
I know.
parents. I don't know what my opinion is of it yet, so I'm probably going to rewatch it on my own time. But I think we probably can do that as an
Okay,
episode.
then we won't. I mean, we can reference it, but we probably shouldn't go into super big detail.
Yeah,
Uh, but
there's a. I
what
want
I was
to
going to ask is, did you
have.
see the trailer for the new Steven Spielberg?
I haven't yet. I've seen some of the stills from it, but I haven't. I mean, just like the trailer for Avengers and Spider-Man and things like that have been out
Oh,
or
I haven't seen
leaked.
that stuff yet. I mean,
So I haven't
I
watched
know the
it.
detail about the Avengers one that I everyone is all up in arms about, which I totally understand. Um,
Oh, the Steve Rogers
yeah, where I'm
thing.
like, okay, what was the point of the last
What,
like
you got any plot? No, but we got cameos and nostalgia.
yeah. No, but so I would implore you to watch the trailer. But the main thing I like about it, yes, it's Spielberg, and so it looks really nice. Um, it it does a really good job of piquing interest because it's just a teaser, but it also almost tells you nothing about the movie.
That's
I
good.
think it's a like Invasion of the Body Snatchers vibe. I think,
I mean,
but again, I don't
not
really
to
know.
say that I was like obviously going to watch it regardless because it's Spielberg, but I kind of want to know nothing about it other than it's a science fiction alien
Well,
movie.
that's just it. It's not for sure that it's an alien even movie. Like they don't. You'll understand when you watch the teaser, but uh,
That's an Emily Blunt and Wake Up Dead Man guy, right?
yes, Challengers, Wake of Dead Man. He just did. I think it's called The Mastermind. Either way, so yes, that is something that I am now looking forward to because, well, that's at least it looks interesting. I am I've heard very mixed things about Marty Supreme from people who have gone to like pre-screenings for it.
Yeah, I've heard people either really liking it or really hating it. So it's going to be one of those divisive things, I guess.
But at least it sounds like of the Safdie brothers. So the Smashing, they both did their own projects, and they're both kind of
Yes.
athletic biopics. The Smashing Machine was much more uh, not wholesome, but it was much more heartfelt. It seemed, and everyone is
Well,
saying,
yeah, from what I've heard, main character of Marty Supreme is just an
yeah, I've
asshole.
heard that it's not a good feeling movie for anyone.
Which I don't know. I think in the right context, I can be on board with
Sure.
that. Like clearly, it worked for that small, lesser known series called Breaking
Hmm.
Bad.
Uh, I know Avatar is coming out soon, and everyone again is saying it looks amazing. Which,
I have heard it looks amazing. I've seen some non spoilery reviews that say, yeah, this is perhaps the weakest one in the trilogy, and it's the first time that the critique of like, oh, this is just the same movie with a different paint job might actually be
mm,
accurate.
well, I mean,
But who knows? It's not actually
I
out
will
yet.
see it. I was just saying that yes, I will go see it. Yes, I will uh, pay too much money for it because I want to see it in the right way.
So I do agree that if you do want to give Fire and Ash, the best chance, it does probably deserve to be seen
Hmm.
in theaters with how much of a
Yes.
spectacle that is. So I probably won't do that, but if you choose to do it, you have to tell me how it is.
Yeah, I might see if I can find. Obviously, not.
I'm surprised your work isn't
It's too
actually
long.
showing it. It feels
Way too
yeah.
long.
You still showing Wicked or no?
It's the last couple days of Wicked, yeah, and then we've got Song Sung Blue, the Neil Diamond, Hugh Jackman thing.
Uh, sure, sure. Well, is there anything else? I mean, that's kind of like the big new trailer that's out. I know there's also a trailer for a Adam Scott horror comedy called Hokum, where he
Yeah, I
plays
briefly
a.
glanced at a bit of the trailer for that. I
It's I'm mildly curious because I like the other two movies this guy has made. I think I've actually talked about one of them before, probably months ago, called Caveat. Um, this one needs to be a step up in quality from that though, because Caveat is definitely a turn your brain off horror movie where you have to accept everyone does not understand the concept of logic or self-preservation. So this needs to be a little bit smarter.
sure, but I've also I feel like it's now becoming almost a trend where maybe not A list actors, but even B list actors are going over to do a horror movie out of the middle of nowhere because I feel like it's like a shakeup to their career and people notice them again.
Well, I mean, it definitely is why you saw, Josh Brolin appearing in
Hmm.
Weapons, things like that. Not to shit on other genres, even though I am a horror fan. I think that horror allows there to be a lot more experimentation and wild, weird creativity choices that you just don't get in things like dramas. So I think there's both enticement for interesting character work for actors, and also, you can just do stranger things there.
Speaking of things we were looking forward to and things we've watched, uh, so while at work, I watched this entire movie on cable TV because it was on one of the TVs. The sound was off, so
Yeah,
I'm still counting it. I watched the whole fucking thing, but I don't think I've ever seen Mrs. Doubtfire before.
that's a yeah,
And what an absolute insane premise for a movie. And
yeah.
there's so many scenes where it's like Robin Williams running back and forth to the bathroom, constantly changing back and forth between Mrs. Doubtfire and himself. And it's just bonkers that someone's like, yes, this we're making this and this will sell tickets. But I will say, like consistently speaking, I don't think I've ever seen a Robin Williams performance that I'm like, oh, this was a bad performance.
I mean, it's Robin Williams is so likable for pretty much every generation. It is hard to find a bad movie of his. I know people like to talk bad about the movie What Dreams May Come,
Never heard of it.
but I've never seen it, so I don't know if it's bad or not. But that's like the one everyone's like, "Oh, well, this one isn't like this is the bad one." But if they can only think of one, who knows?
And then I also watched Wake Up Dead Man, which is quote a Knives Out mystery. It is the third in the series. The first one was actually a theater release, and I genuinely think that was one of the last times that I like had a really enjoyable theater experience where like totally subverted my expectations. The first one, uh, I think it's a perfect movie. I'm pretty sure we've talked about it on here
We talked about it for our Thanksgiving special last year.
that we then lost the footage for, right?
It was two movies that we were going to kind of splice together. We lost the one for Fantastic
Oh,
Fox.
that's
We
what it
did
was.
keep the one for Knives
Okay,
Out.
so I just and Hayden and I referenced that we will, since we both saw this movie, not together, but we both saw this movie, we will probably sprinkle it in as an episode here soon somewhere, maybe right after Christmas, sometime before the new year. Um,
Probably.
but just yeah, I general thoughts. I still think the first one's the best. I think this is the most dark, least comedic of the trio so far. But I but
Absolutely.
I do think it is also the most, because it's touching so heavily on themes for the movie. I think that it is the most vulnerable and honest.
I mean, as Duncan has mentioned, I've also watched it. I think that this is better than the second one, but still doesn't recapture the lightning in a bottle that was the first one.
Mm.
Although this one is still very, very good. I would say because of its theming, which without getting super into it, obviously it's about religion. This is going to be the most divisive one, I think.
Yeah, and I'm curious how far after this they keep going with it. I think
Um,
Ryan Johnson already said he wants to do a standalone before he does another one of these.
yes.
And you never know, by the time he does that and then wants to come back and do another one. I mean, Daniel Craig might be either too old or wants to do something else entirely himself. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's very possible.
I did also watch this week. I don't think it's loggable anywhere. It was like a short film, like 45 minutes of. It was produced by I think it was MGM. It was a like a short called Being James Bond. It was basically just a huge like overhaul behind the scenes uh, documentary about Daniel Craig taking over James Bond and his arc from people
Sure.
really not liking him before they even saw Casino Royale, and then Casino Royale being this huge, massive hit, and then the the subsequential movies that followed. So I just randomly watched that on YouTube today, and it was really interesting. It made me really want to rewatch some of them because obviously some of them were good and some of them were not. It,
Well, I mean, I think every Bond actor has the ones that people like and the people that people forget. Like I really like Pierce Brosnan as James Bond, but like Die Another Day, kind of garbage.
See,
But
that's one of my
Goldeneye
favorite ones of
is
his.
excellent. I don't know. It's too silly and goofy.
Well, that's one of the few things they said at the very beginning was like, oh, going from Pierce Brosnan to Daniel Craig, they wanted to take this
Yeah.
back to not this crazy, over the top, ridiculous, like hokey thing. So that's the things that I've looking forward to. That's the things that I've watched. Is there anything else, Hayden, that you either are looking forward to or have watched?
Okay. I don't remember if I said this last week. I watched Scrooged and obviously um Wake Up Dead Man. And then I actually haven't been keeping up with my Christmas movie list, unfortunately. I've been stressed out and thinking about other things. But I'm looking forward to probably after this evening watching I mean, we mentioned them earlier with the review, but probably watching all the Rankin Bass animated ones just because they're always fun. But yeah, I've had a slow week movie wise.
Well, and I was at the parents earlier today to clean up some of my pottery stuff, but they said you were probably gonna watch something tomorrow evening. So yeah, you'll get on back on track.
Possibly.
Otherwise, folks, what else? That was Elf. That was all the things we've watched, things we're looking forward to next week, which the timing wise, uh, because it's already the 17th and Christmas is crazy to think Christmas is like a week away or
Less than a
so.
week.
Um, we will be talking about White Christmas, the original. I don't know. I feel like it's like one of the original holiday movies from the
Oh, it is. Absolutely.
'60s. It is available. I think it's is that a Disney Plus one actually? I mean, I know we
I
have
don't
copies of it, but
remember. I was like, I have my own copy. I have no idea where it's streaming. I know it's streaming everywhere. At the very least, Amazon has it if you really want to go there.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that. So if you want to watch that and follow along, absolutely do so. Uh, if you have comments, complaints, compliments, suggestions, anything like that, questions, you know where to find us. And take a look for Wake Up Dead Man here in maybe a couple of weeks.
Might be the first review of the new year.
Yeah, yeah, maybe. I mean, we'll have to see how scheduling stuff lines up. But
Yes, yes.
yeah, thanks for listening. And who knows, maybe one day we'll be listening and watching. We'll see how this all sorts out. But we'll catch you all next week for White Christmas.